When you think of the B-25 Mitchell, you probably picture bombs dropping from altitude. But in the Pacific, crews flew these things right at sea level, turning them into flying gunboats. Of course, there were models with a 75mm cannon, but pilots preferred machine guns, often mounting between 4 and 8 in the nose. Pilots really praised the forward-firing armament of this bomber. On the attack run, they watched where the tracers were going, adjusted their aim, and then just sprayed the enemy with lead. Because of this, the aircraft can be considered one of the first gunships. This tactic not only dealt serious damage, but also scared the enemy, allowing pilots to make their runs under minimal return fire and effectively use their main weapon, 6 500-pound bombs. Guys, make sure to watch till the end, and you'll find out how the B-25 helped change the course of World War II. The B-25 Mitchell was a twin-engine medium bomber, but it handled more like a strike aircraft. Top speed was around 275 miles per hour, with a range of about 1,330 miles. It carried a crew of 5 to 6, and depending on the variant, could haul up to 3,000 pounds of bombs. Two Wright R2600 engines pumped out around 120 decibels, absolutely deafening the crew. The engines are positioned in such a way that the sound they produce is directed straight toward the crew. This monster roared, not only from the engines, but with a minimum of 4 forward-firing 50-cal machine guns hammering away in the nose. Some pilots recalled they could feel the vibrations in their teeth. The B-25 carried around 974 gallons internally, giving it a combat range of roughly 1,330 miles, though with external tanks, crews could push it even further. That translated to about 8 to 9 hours of flight time, depending on conditions and payload. In reality, crew roles were often combined, but here's an approximate layout for clarity. Pilot and co-pilot, bombardier and navigator, 2 waist gunners on the sides, and tail gunner. Together, they carried a total of 7,000 rounds of ammunition to put on target. In 1939, the U.S. Army Air Corps placed an order for a twin-engine medium bomber capable of reaching 300 miles per hour and carrying a 3,000-pound bomb load. Interestingly, North American was among the first to present a prototype, the NA-40, but it failed to meet the requirements. They then developed the improved NA-62, which caught the military's attention, and in 1941, the B-25 Mitchell was put in mass production at the North American Aviation plant in Kansas City, Missouri. The B-25 Mitchell's first combat mission took place in February 1942 in the Philippines, shortly after the attack on Pearl Harbor. One interesting fact, the 345th Bombardment Group was considered one of the most effective units. During campaigns in New Guinea, the Philippines, and China, they flew more than 10,600 combat missions. Overall, the B-25 Mitchell was deployed primarily in the Pacific Theater of Operations, why the B-25 was named Mitchell. Brigadier General Billy Mitchell was one of the earliest proponents of an independent air force. In the 1920s, he actively championed the development of U.S. air power, warning about the growing importance of aviation in future warfare. To prove his point, he conducted dramatic demonstrations in which obsolete warships were sunk during bombing exercises. At the time, his ideas were met with strong resistance, and Mitchell himself faced disciplinary action. However, his foresight and persistence were ultimately vindicated. As the United States prepared for global conflict, air power emerged as a decisive strategic force, and new aircraft began to reflect many of his ideas. When the North American B-25 Mitchell entered mass production and proved its versatility and reliability, Army officials chose to honor Mitchell by naming the aircraft after him. The name Mitchell became a lasting symbol of innovation, vision, and the transformative role of aviation in modern warfare. In April 1942, just a few months after attack on Pearl Harbor, the United States decided to strike back at Japan. This led to the creation of the Doolittle Raid. The commander of this legendary operation, James Doolittle, led a group of 16 B-25 Mitchell bombers that were specially prepared to take off from an aircraft carrier, an unprecedented task for such aircraft. The planes were modified by removing excess weight and adding extra fuel tanks so they could reach Japan and then continue on to land in China. All 16 aircraft launched from the aircraft carrier USS Hornet and struck targets in Tokyo, Yokohama, and other cities. After the raid, most crews had to land in China or bail out. Although the raid did not cause significant strategic damage to Japan, it was a major moral victory. It marked the first time Americans struck the Japanese home islands, boosting the morale of both the military and civilians. The raid went down in history as an example of the courage and skill of B-25 pilots. One future U.S. president was even shot down while flying a Grumman TBF Avenger, but that's another story. It's covered in the previous video. Watch it.